to another episode of Living Room Wisdom, where your story is your glory. I am Patrina Wisdom, author, speaker, and wealth mentor. And today I have a gorgeous woman in studio. This is Melissa January with Livestrongher. She's a health and wellness coach and a trainer, and I'm going to let her do her self-justice here in just a moment. But welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so good to have you here. I'm excited to have you share your story with everyone. But before we jump into your business, I really want to share with the audience who you, Melissa January, are. So who are you?
Melissa January, born and raised in Germany. I am a mom, I am a daughter, I am a sister, a friend, all of the great things. I am currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia, and I have the pleasure to sit here with Patrina to talk about my story. I am a domestic violence survivor as well. I wrote a book about it. The name is From Trial to Triumph, and From Trial to Triumph is my journey that is now growing into Livestrongher, meaning to live strong inside and out. And what I do is I help women to get fit, eat well, and cope with stress.
Yes, that is amazing. Like, you said a lot in a little bit of time, and I just want to kind of go back and highlight some of those things. So you are a mother.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about your motherhood journey. How many children?
I have one son, Xavier. He's 16.
Wow.
Yes.
She doesn't look like she should have a 16-year-old at all.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's 16, and that's it. I only have one son.
Okay.
Yes. Previously married, divorced. That was the domestic violence situation.
Yeah.
And I guess just I'm a caregiver to my mom. She suffered a stroke 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And pretty much that's
more than just it. I mean, that's a lot. So we hear a lot about the sandwich generation, where we're raising children, but we're also taking care of our parents. You're living this.
Yes, absolutely.
You're living this. So tell us a little bit about this journey. I'd like to find out first, just a little bit more about your situation with your ex-husband and the domestic violence, how you escaped that situation and turned that into who you are and what you're doing right now.
Yeah, pretty much what happened was I never knew what it was like to be hopeless, helpless, or anything. And I always knew it was never meant for me. I knew it was supposed to happen, but I didn't think that was where I was supposed to stay. I knew I had to create another life for me and my son, coming from Germany, coming from overseas. We didn't have anything. So I did have my sisters that lived here, and they helped me with everything to get set up to start over. But pretty much I just knew, first of all, I knew I had a bigger purpose. Second, I was in a coma, and I made it through that part. I have suffered
due to abuse?
Yes.
Wow.
And due to myself, what I did some things to myself which I am not proud of, but that helped me also regain strength to know that I have a purpose. So going through that part, and then moving forward, leaving the city behind, leaving the husband behind, moving to a different city, and then have my family around. I just knew they helped me also understand that they're here for me, but also I knew I was always an independent woman. I always had my own. So I just knew I had to grow back into the old Melissa that I used to be. And I think surviving, just period, surviving and driving. I mean, and then here in this city, I met a few women that went through the exact same thing. So I was able to, how can I say, I was able to
just basically relate.
Yeah, exactly.
Build community around that.
Relate to the same, because I just always thought it could have never been me.
Right. I don't think anyone, thinks that that's going to happen to them at all. That's something that you just fall into the situation and don't really understand that you're in that type of situation until you're deep in it. It sounds like, right?
Yeah.
So I know also that, because you didn't just move states, you moved country.
Right.
It's like you left Germany with your son by yourself and came to the States to completely recreate your life.
But it was actually with him. So we actually met overseas.
Oh,
correct. Yes, we met overseas. Yeah. And we came together here as a family. Exactly.
And then you made your great escape.
Right, correct.
Okay,
correct.
Gotcha. And I know that during that transition, you experienced a stint of homelessness as well.
Yes,
with your son.
Well, pretty much, he had put us out, and at one point we didn't have nowhere to go, and so I had a few coins left and was able to call my sister, which she then was able to give me a Greyhound ticket, and basically me and my son was sitting at the Greyhound station. It's so funny, but people actually have to read the story, because not being from here, my English was super broken at the time, you know, not knowing what anything was. We was literally on the bus traveling for over 28 hours.
Wow.
The first bus broke down, and it was just a bunch of stuff, but yeah, so pretty much. So homelessness, I wouldn't say directly, but kind of like, you know, nowhere to go at some point, no address to claim, and so on and so on, until we came here.
They call it couch surfing these days.
I guess,
in essence, it's homelessness. And I had that experience growing up where my mom and I, she was a very young mom, and we kind of had to move around and live with people at different times. Never thought about it as homelessness, but when I grew up, I was like, oh, we really did have stints of homelessness, you know? We just weren't on the streets.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about this journey, because to go from this situation where you're experiencing abuse, which typically like kills your spirit and would, you know, give you these feelings of unworthiness perhaps, and isolation and all of the things that come along with that type of relationship, to go from that to the woman that I'm witnessing today, who is, you know, a very savvy single mom. You've started your business, you're thriving not only in the health and fitness space, but also with your clothing brand, which she's wearing her own brand currently. I mean, that's a huge leap. And you talked a little bit about trial to triumph, but let's also talk about this creating your life from scarcity energy to moving into this abundance energy, right? Like, what's that look like for you?
So, like I said, I always knew I wanted more. I always had that drive. I always had that independency. I feel like as a kid, I always wanted to learn. I always wanted to do. And so when I first came here, like I said, it was very hard, not knowing anything about a resume, bio, or anything, you know? It was just, everything was like weird. But for some reason, that inner drive was still there, even though I didn't know nothing. My English, like I said, was broken down there. I just knew, I said to myself, okay, I made it this far, and that journey was very hard to go through and get through, and without God, I wouldn't, and without God and my son, I have to say, my son made me go harder, because without God and my son, I wouldn't even think I'd still be here, to be honest. And so knowing that I have a little man right here that's looking at me innocent, that I created, I just knew I had to do more. So I always said to myself from day one, I said, I have to work for one of the biggest companies that there is in this city. I don't know how I'm gonna get into it, but I have to get into one of these. I always wanted, in Atlanta, they have Delta, Coke, and Emory, so I actually was able to get into Emory. That was the first, that gave me like a confidence boost. Even though before I had a different job, like I was doing insurance, like I was doing a lot of stuff where you had to work literally to make some money, but then I knew I wanted something where I would be able to provide for my son, and so on and so on. But with that first job landing, I then started to get more comfortable and more confident in who I was. A friend of mine who actually helped me get into Emory, she also helped me to get back into modeling. I was modeling at a very, very young age, but modeling has also helped me become more confident. You know, when you get abused, and it was not just physically, it was mentally, spiritually,
which sometimes I think is even worse.
It's even worse. Like I said, it's hard to get back up from that, but the first, like, it took steps. People have to know it doesn't happen overnight, and you really truly have to want it. Another thing, through that modeling, I met another female. She was an author as well. She also was a domestic violence survivor, and she was a life coach. She introduced me to life coaching, so I actually got my life coach certification. So I said to myself, okay, how am I going to be any good? Just because I survived the story doesn't mean I can now coach people. Let's just be real. And my journey was different than everyone else's. It's like everyone has a story, but what is going to make me stand out? And so I really had to realize I have to use what I have. So I had to look internally. Okay, what I have strength. I want to live. Like I have a purpose. So if I make myself the purpose coach, the strength coach, whichever one, you know, I just knew I had to focus on something. And getting into getting deeply into life coaching really also helped me, because I became my own coach. And then on top, I hired myself a coach. That coach, I always say, if you cannot afford a coach, at least get a mentor, a role model. We have nowadays the access to the internet. There's so much stuff out there. So that has helped me as well. And then, like I said, my inner drive. It was always like, people would call me crazy almost. It's like, I would go do stuff knowing it's a crazy thing, but I had to do it just because it was me. So I don't know how, and that was always for me my confirmation from God. Like, you're supposed to have it. It's just like, you have the strength to get it. You can do it. Like, if it's a car, if it's where I wanted to live, people are like, how you gonna live there? You can't even afford it. I'm like, I'm gonna make it work. Why you buy that car? You can't really. I'm gonna make it work, and so on and so on and so on. So I would always just go higher and higher and higher. And eventually, I said, okay, now that I've been a model, I've been an author. Wrote I gave back to the community. You know, I know what it feels like to be down now. I want to know what it feels like to be up. What can I create that is like the umbrella of everything? And so me and a friend of mine, we sat down, and she was like, okay, well, what is it that you're really truly trying to do with this next step? Because this is it. So I said, I want to live, I want to do it strong, and it's all about her. So we came up with Livestrongher, which is now the umbrella of everything, which means like women that, like I said, we all have a story. Everyone's story is different. It's not just health and wellness based, but it starts within.
It's a lifestyle.
You have to be honest. You don't have to be skinny to be healthy. You don't have to be skinny to be fit. It's literally just like, how is your inside looking? Because as we both know, the outside, we can put that mask on every day, and nobody knows what goes on the inside. And so for me to help other women become stronger inside and out, I created Livestrongher.
I love it. I love it. And the thing that I really want to spotlight is that, again, this is Living Room Wisdom, where your story is your glory, and all of the glory that's come from her trials, you know, and how, and the mindset behind, no matter how down you were, there was always a piece of you that knew that you were destined for greatness. Right? And from what I understand from our conversation previously, there were periods of time where you didn't want to live even, right?
No. So at one point I got down so low where I really didn't see nowhere in and out, because I've always believed in God from since I've been a kid. I used to love going to church. I'm Catholic, so in Germany, God's good. And today it's Sunday, but you know, Catholic church is kind of boring, but I love the church. I just felt like He left my side, and I was like, God, why would you take me away from I had an amazing life in Germany. I mean, I had my mom there always. I had plenty of friends. I had a good job. You know, I had education. I was like, why would you take me away from this to put me with a demon like this and then take me over here? At some point, I had gotten sick. I wasn't able to see my son. So, you know, at one point I just gave up. I gave in. I prayed to God numerous times. I didn't hear an answer. He was still there. He was still abusing me. He was still leaving me. He was still cheating. So I just said to myself, God, I'm tired. And then there was this one day where actually my son wasn't there, and he wasn't there as well. And I remembered I had a wisdom tooth pulled while I was with my ex-husband, and they gave me a bunch of painkillers. I mean, at the military hospital, I'm not sure, but they gave me a bunch. And so all I knew is just I took both those pill bottles and just swallowed all those pills. And I hoped I would never wake up, but thank God today, of course, I woke up. That would help me understand that, you know, a lot of people don't get to live. A lot of people don't make it, and if you made it, that means you have to do something
much greater purpose for your life.
And then you have to also, you can't just sit here and say to yourself that happened and don't ever worry about it. Like you have to get out with your story, because if it was for me, I would have never shared my story, to be honest.
But it's almost like you had a responsibility at that point, right? I mean, that's how I felt when my husband, you know, took his own life. I felt like for me to be in a position where we were in the financial industry, we had insurance, we had savings, we had investments. I had learned, you know, how to manage money and that. So for me to be in the position that I was in after such a tragic experience, it was almost like a responsibility. Like, as much as I didn't want to be in the financial industry, it's like, let me step up. It's not about me. It's about the impact that I can make in other people's lives. And it sounds like you did exactly the same.
Yeah, it truly is. Yeah.
Yes. So for yourself, what, how long have you had your Livestrongher?
So it's coming up 2 years.
2 years.
Yes. Before that, it was a coaching company, international coaching company, and I changed it and made that Livestrongher. So I've been a business owner since 2015.
Okay.
So yeah.
And so if we were to future cast, we're going forward 5 years. Where are you? What does your business look like? What does your life look like in 5 years?
So I first looked at my business where I literally only wanted to train women and pretty much just introduce people. So I'm a vegan as well, you know, just the healthier eating and stuff. So I knew that's no longer my niche only.
Yes.
So I literally, for the next 5 years, I want to first, I created a clothing line, but I need something that every woman can feel strong inside out. So I've gotten some feedback, and I want to change that around a little bit and really come up with a design that really speaks for itself. And of course, these are cute and to work out, and they keep you really sucked in. And you know, especially for certain areas, I know I gained a couple of pounds, so you can really tell, but it really helps you push in and holds you up. But like I said, just create a better line for Livestrongher. Also, I want to start looking at more globally. I am international, and that's why I always say use what you have and take it with you. I need to create something for women that's overseas and not just here in the United States. And then pretty much I said that I wanted to have my own institute, so I look forward to having a Livestrongher Institute. And what I basically always want, I didn't just want to be a gym owner. I needed to be like a health and wellness institute. So where you come one step, like you do your hydration therapy here, you got your sauna and yoga here, you got the gym here, you got your nutrition coaching here, you got the clothing line upstairs and stuff like that. So I saw this building.
It's a big vision.
Yeah, it's very big.
I love it. Yeah,
it's very big, but like, you know,
I see it happening.
Or go home.
I see it happening, right? It's a building, right?
Yes,
and everything
absolutely.
has its time. So very similar in my life as well. It's like the vision unfolds as you move into your purpose even further.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. So if you have someone out here listening to this interview who has walked the path that you've walked, whether it be the abuse, whether it be, you know, coming into childhood, or excuse me, motherhood, or just any of the things that we talked about today, what would you say for the dreamer that's out there but that hasn't started taking steps towards building that dream and making it a reality? What advice would you give them, to our audience here?
I mean, sometimes all it takes is just the first step. Meaning, like, even if you just have an idea, chart stuff down. You just never know who God sent you, or the universe, who's going to respond to your wish. We all have a purpose. I'm not special. I just went for it. So you just have to go for it. Don't worry about how long it's going to take you. Don't worry about how much time you can spend with it, as long as you do something. Every time you think about it, chart something down, right? You know, make it plain too. A lot of times we want to create this mega brand and this mega this and this mega logo, and a lot of times it's the simple things that people need for, you know, create something also that people need, so you don't have to start from total scratch. And like I said, just get started. We all face troubles, I mean, as we all know, with this pandemic, but a lot of people, that was a perfect time when everything slowed down. They was able to get inside of themselves to actually figure out who they are and what they are capable of doing. And like I said, just take that first step. A lot of times, that's all it takes, the first step.
Fantastic. And if people want to connect with you, can you share where they can find you?
Absolutely. So finally, we have my website up, which is www.livestrongher.com. You can find everything on Livestrongher, my book, my clothing line, any services that I have to offer, and social media, Melissa January or Livestrongher as well, on Facebook, Instagram, and so on.
Yay, this has been awesome.
Thank you.
I know that this is fairly new to you with this type of a forum, so I want to appreciate you for that and honor you. This was fun.
And
I think that, you know, there was lots of value given and little nuggets that you all can take and implement right away. So thank you for joining us for another episode of Living Room Wisdom, where your story is your glory. Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Patrina Wisdom. Subscribe on all of our podcast channels, and please join the community on Facebook. It's the Badass Bodacious Entrepreneurs Group. We look forward to seeing you there. Namaste, and we'll see you next week.